Thank you very much to our interpreters, Gael, Daniel, Marco, and Ibec. It's because of their service that our General Assembly and our meetings have become really truly engaging. Okay, so as we start our assembly, we will be having an opening ceremony to be led by members of Van Gujjar Tribal Yuva Sangathan. I hope I pronounced this correctly, which is a youth group belonging to the Van Gujjar semi-nomadic pastoralist community from the Himalayas. No? They recently applied to become a member of the ICCA consortium. So we hope to welcome them into our association soon. They will share a few words and a short bent, which are songs that they sing before starting any activity. So let's have the Van Gujjar Tribal Yuva Sangatan for our opening ceremony.
हिमालयन रीजन में रहने वाली सेमी नोमैडिक्स जनजाति जो वनगुजर के नाम से जानी जाती है, ये इलाका है राजाजी टाइगर रिजर्व की गौरी रेंज। यहाँ इस कम्युनिटी के 86 परिवार रहते हैं और इस समुदाय की जो पारंपरिक जो जीवन शैली है उसमें इस प्रकार के हट छप्पर बनाकर ये रहते हैं। और ये किचन है और उसके पीछे ये दो एक बैठक है। और हम अब जो समुदाय का जो जीवन है वो जंगल, ज़मीन और नदी नालों के और गोजरी ब्रीड की भैंस बफेलो के साथ किस तरीके से उनके जीवन में, उनकी व्याख्यान में उनकी उपयोगिता क्या है, वो एक बैठ के माध्यम से हम बताने जा रहे हैं।
बुलबुल बैठा डाली ऊपर वांग फलाया है जोड़ा। बुलबुल बैठा डाली ऊपर वांग फलाया है जोड़ा। अजगे बिछड़े कद मिलांगे भाई मेरा दिल थोड़ा।
ये मोहम्मद रफ़ी है जो एक यूथ पेस्टोलिस्ट है, जो यूथ पूरी कम्युनिटीज़ का नेतृत्व करते हैं। और ये अपने बखान में गाते हैं कि जब माइग्रेशंस के लिए जब अल्पाइन की ओर निकलते हैं कम्युनिटी, और उससे पहले जो रेड विंटेड बुलबुल है वो जब एक ब्रांच पे बैठकर पंखों को हिलाता है और वो संदेश देता है कम्युनिटीज़ को कि अब तुम हमसे बिछड़ रहे हैं और दोबारा कब मुलाकात होगी।
पाड़ कतूर खोरू दा बूटा ते रुड़ दरिया विच आया। पहाड़ कतूर खोरू दा बूटा रुड़ दरिया विच आया। पात यूनान दे मैसन खादे स्वाद दुदा विच आया।
रफ़ी जी कहते हैं कि लॉकडाउन के दौरान जब हम लोग माइग्रेशन नहीं कर पाए थे, तो हम जब प्लेन माइग्रेशंस करते हैं गंगा नदी के साइड में, तो जो अल्पाइंस में एक खोरू ट्री होता है जिसके लीव्स को बफेलो खाता है।
Okay, thank you to Muhammad and the Van Gujjar community for sending us this video and for opening our General Assembly. We will review a few practical matters and approve the revised General Assembly agenda for today. And we'd like to ask Gael if you could please share some details with us.
Sure. So if you join late, please ensure that your name in Zoom reflects your actual name, not something generic. If you are representing a member organization, add a capital M in front of your name. If you are an honorary member, add a capital H in front of your name. If you are not in the membership and here as an observer, add OBS in front of your name. This will help us and everyone know who you are and what capacity you are participating. It will also help the Secretariat check the quorum during GA decisions. We organized interpretation in 6 languages for today's session: English, French, Spanish, Portuguese, Russian, and Italian. Click the globe in the bottom right of your screen and select your preferred language. If other languages are required for the next 2 GA sessions, please contact me as soon as possible so we can try to arrange it. During our session today, please remember to speak slowly and clearly for the interpreters. We have 2.5 hours available today, and we want to respect everyone's time and schedules, especially with so many people in different time zones around the world. So please remember to be concise and specific with your interventions, comments, and questions. During the discussions, use the raise your hand feature on Zoom. If you wish to say something to everyone, you can also send a message in the chat box. The interpreters will do their best to translate more substantive comments into the other languages in the chat. The chair may still call you to explain your question or comment. Thank you. Back to
Thank
you,
you,
Teddy.
Gael. Yes, thanks, Gael. And now we will review the revised agenda for today's session of the General Assembly and the outline of decisions to be taken. If you joined our first GA session last month, you will remember that we adopted the overall agenda for all the sessions of the GA. Since then, the agenda has been shared by email and Lumio. We have, however, a few proposed changes, primarily to give more time for discussion and more time for council nominations and elections. So I will now read the revised General Assembly agenda for today's session. The screen is not so clear. Sorry, Secretariat, but the slide is not coming out clear. Oh, there it is. Okay. Thank you. So for today, Wednesday, April 26, 2023, we will have we already had the opening ceremony. And then, oh, it has become blurred again. Am I the only one with a not so clear view of the agenda? Okay, thank you. Then we shall review and approve the revised, which we are now doing, the agenda for this session. And then we will have the Secretariat to report. This is part 1 of the Secretariat report, which will focus on the regionalization process. We don't need to prove anything. We just have to note the report. So we will hear from the regional coordinators later. After which, our global coordinator, Holly, will lead us in an interactive session on the regionalization process. And then afterwards, I shall suspend the General Assembly. So this will be our discussion for the next 2 hours. And by the way, just as a reminder for tomorrow, might as well inform you that we will have a membership engagement tomorrow, same time, April 27. And our discussions will focus on the all-important consortium manifesto. So we'll be presenting to you our timelines for the approval of the manifesto and also to update you as to the status of the drafting of the manifesto and hopefully also to get your inputs. So are there any objections or questions on the revised GA agenda? Hearing none, then the agenda is hereby noted. As I said, the first half of today's session will focus on the 2022 reports of the regional coordination teams in the Secretariat. I would now like to invite Holly Jonas, the Global Coordinator of our Secretariat, to provide us with a brief introduction.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's a pleasure to be with all of you for our second General Assembly session. And as Teddy said, we are going to have our Secretariat report split into two parts this year to give more time for the regional reports in this session. Oh, yeah, I'll just mute you. And then we will have the global level areas of work reported in the next GA session at the end of May. So today we are focusing entirely on the regional reports, and the second half of today's session will focus on the regionalization process more broadly. So there will be a chance to discuss all of that in the second half. The first half, we will focus on reports from 2022 from the regional coordination teams in our Secretariat. So we're very lucky to have nearly all of the regional coordinators presenting live today. A couple of people have asked colleagues in their regions to help present for them because of either internet connectivity issues or unexpected travel. Oh. Hi, Teddy's dog. Sorry, I'll mute you for a sec. And just to say as well, you will notice that we have many regions in the world are covered by our regional coordination teams. However, there are a few regions that will not be represented. In particular, Southern Africa, we had sort of regional coordinator for part of the year, but unfortunately they were not forthcoming in sharing what was happening. So we will not hear from Southern Africa, unfortunately. We also did not have last year regional coordinators for Europe or for North America. So we do not have regional reports from those regions either. That does not mean that work is not happening in those regions, particularly from our members in those regions. This is just to say, from the Secretariat, we do not currently have regional coordination teams, so we're not able to report on regional Secretariat activities in those regions, okay? Otherwise, the rest of the world has wonderful regional coordination teams, and we're very, very pleased to share these regional reports with you today. The content is also available on Lumio. Hopefully you received those notifications yesterday/today, depending on your location. So if you missed anything, you can go to Lumio and check the details. But yeah, other than that, very pleased to have the regional team share everything with you today. They've worked very hard to prepare these reports. And so, yeah, over to you, Teddy. We're going to have a great global tour with everybody. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Holly. We will be around the world. This will be an opportunity for us to meet our regional coordinators and regional coordination team. So we will be starting from my region, which is Asia, where we will hear from our 5 regional coordinators and their colleagues from Ali Raska, Tanya Mahmoudar, Ami Maling, Sute Hugu, and Jovi Cleofe. Okay. First up is with my good friend Ali. Miss you, my brother. Ali is the regional coordinator for West and Central Asia and the Caucasus on behalf of Senesta, which is a founding member in Iran. Ali's colleagues Nahid, Hanie, and others work closely with him in a team approach in Senesta. Over to you, Ali.
Thank you, Toan, and hello, everyone. Okay, let me go straight to the report for the sake of time. There were 2 main categories of activities we conducted in the region in 2022. The first category was supporting the process of regionalization. In this regard, and as the main symbol of our work, the second ICCA Consortium Regional Assembly in West and Central Asia and the Caucasus was held virtually on February 24 and 25. During the second regional assembly, participants shared their knowledge and experiences, status, and future priorities for supporting territories of life, and the mutual roles and responsibilities of members and the ICCA Consortium to improve and promote territories of life in the region. They discussed various aspects of the regionalization process and work priorities. These included developing and strengthening the regional network and designing a regional roadmap. Moreover, the regional coordination team, among other coordinators and some of our members worldwide, followed inter-regional cooperation on rangeland and pastoralism throughout 2022 by holding numerous virtual meetings and participating in various activities to design a global initiative related to rangeland and pastoralism. These activities led to holding a virtual workshop on rangeland and pastoralism toward a global initiative for pastoralist territories of life in collaboration with the UNDP's GSI ICCAs and the International Support Group for the IYRP. The workshop took place over 3 days, November 14, 15, and 18. As a result of the workshop, the initiative task team prepared the first draft of a concept note for the global initiative. The second part of our work focused on the role of the ambassador of the ICCA Consortium. In this regard, we participated and cooperated in designing, holding, moderating, and facilitating various events. The first one was a virtual workshop on financialization of nature, green investment, and biodiversity conservation held in collaboration with Kafovskaya University of Venice in the middle of April, with discussion about radical alternatives to nature's commodification by Ashish Kothari and the global policy framework for biodiversity conservation by Amme Ali Ramos. The second one was the 15th Conference of Parties of the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, UNCCD, which took place from May 9 to 20 in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire. As a means of implementing the convention, territories of life were promoted there. On September 7 to 10, the Dana Plus 20 workshop was held in Wadi Dana, Jordan. In Dana Plus 20 manifesto, the concept of territories of life is presented, discussed, and ultimately recognized and declared. The final note should be made regarding the significant role at the regional and national levels in advocating for the International Year of Rangeland and Pastoralists. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ali. Now we will hear from Tanya Mahmoodar, who together with Nima Broom and Rudrath Avinashi comprise the South Asia Regional Coordination Team in behalf of Kalpavisk, a member in India. Shruti was also an active part of the South Asia Regional Coordination Team in 2022, although she has since moved on to another role. Jaila Brai from the ICCA Working Group in Nepal is also contributing to the South Asia report today.
Thank you, Teddy. Hello, everyone. I'm Tanya from member organization Kalpavrik. As Teddy said, my colleagues Rudrath, Nima, and I are the South Asia region coordinators for the consortium. In the last 1 year, we've been involved in several activities. In April 2022, we held an in-person meeting at Delhi of several members and honorary members from India, working at national and grassroots level to strategize for the strengthening of the India chapter. In the meeting, the India chapter was formalized and several subgroups were constituted to take various activities forward. One of the main outcomes of the meeting was to design a self-strengthening fellowship program for women and youth from CCAs. Work on this is currently underway. The web portal on community conserved areas was officially launched on 27th August in the presence of community leaders, civil society organizations, and the then chairperson of National Biodiversity Authority. The web portal was also introduced at a Northeast India level regional meeting in Meghalaya. An Instagram handle for the same was started. The portal currently has around 250 documented CCAs, and funding support has been secured for more documentation this year. We were able to secure funds to continue on-ground fellowship support for self-strengthening of 2 CCAs, one in Uttarakhand and one in Maharashtra. We started a third on-ground fellowship in Uttarakhand. The fellows include women and youth. A work program has been developed for self-documentation and self-strengthening of 50 CCAs in Nagaland. We supported consultations on OECMs in Rajasthan, on ICCAs, and on Amur falcon conservation in Northeast India. The last one included youth, women, and elders from the villages that fall under the Amur falcon migratory path who are protecting the birds. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. Are we having the report from Nepal? From Jailab. Yeah, okay.
Hi, Namaste and good evening from Nepal. I am Jailab updating the ICCAs from Nepal. ICCAs existing in different forms, types, locations, territories are organized in ICCA Network Nepal since last 12-13 years. This is informal network, but the ICCAs and we have decided to formalize it into the network, associations or federation, whatever it is possible. Some activities of the years are community exposure visits, community meetings, holding 4th ICCA national gatherings, youth involvement into different activities like self-documentation of the biocultural territories, holding first ICC youth national gatherings, forming ICC youth national networks, and decisions, a process of organizing Chum centenary event in this month are important activities related to the territories of life in Nepal. These activities have helped develop community awareness, community sensitizations, as well as self-strengthening processes of the territories of life in Nepal. Youth involvement in different activities, similarly, Chum centenary event, Chum territory of life, and holding this event is one of the very showcase activities of the ICCA's territories of life in Nepal. I hope these activities will bring very exciting stories to share with the communities in Nepal, ICCA communities in Nepal, and globally, we hope. Thank you so much for listening the updates from Nepal. Thank you.
That Nepalese ICCA network has focused their activities on the youth. So I would like to thank Tanya and Jalab from the South Asia Regional Coordination Team. Now let's move on to East and North Asia, and we shall have Sute Hugu. Hello, Hugu, Regional Coordinator for East and North, is based in Taiwan. Hugu concluded his role after 10 years, probably the longest serving regional coordinator at the end of 2022. So we have him as regional coordinator since 2012. And in early 2023, as part of the regionalization process, Hugo passed on the baton to a new regional coordination team hosted by our friends from China, the consortium member Sui Conservation, San Sui Conservation Center. Okay, but Hugo is still with us. He is now playing a new role, and perhaps he can say something about it. So let's have Hugo for East and North Asia.
Good day and good evening, my dear friends. 2022 was a critical year for the regionalization of the East and the North Asia. Here I would share you only some glimpses to present the vitality and the diversity of this huge region. 1. In last April, both the Center for Support of Indigenous Peoples of the North from Russia and the Center for Environmental and Minority Policy Studies based in Hokkaido, Japan, became our members, while Community Collaboration for People and Nature registered as a national NGO by the original ICCA Working Group Mongolia. We achieved the first step of a regional connection and integration for East and North Asia, and held the first regional assembly following. It's also the time for transferring my role of regional coordinator for 1 decade to the new regional coordination team supported by one of our member organizations. CCPN from Mongolia has considered it seriously at first, but declined late last year for internal reasons, and the Shanshui Conservation Center from China decided to take the role with the recommendation from ICCA China Working Group and accepted by consensus of the Regional Council earlier this year. ICCA China Working Group has been a forum for our Chinese members and honorary members since 2014, and applied successfully for membership in last November to become services and umbrella platform for our potential members that may have various barriers to participate the consortium directly. 2. CCP and Mongolia, with the Asian Inter-Regional Task Team by Karpavriksh and Senesta, helped initiating and organizing the international workshop on rangelands and pastoralism towards a global initiative for pastoralists' territory of life, which held on last November for 3 days. The inter-regional team is striving continually for implementing the global initiative this year. 3. On last March, semi-post researchers and allies published the edited volume Decolonizing Futures, Collaborations for New Indigenous Horizons, and organized a book release seminar on last December. It opens up new perspectives on indigenous emancipation and decolonization, both in academia as well as indigenous art and activism. With the assistance of Arjo, our communications coordinator, we'll introduce it soon on our website for a new dialogue with the ICCA support. 4. The Russo-Ukrainian war, launched in last February, has a serious impacts on indigenous peoples' organizations and activists of the North Siberia and the Far East of the Russian Federation. Thanks to Holy, Bovan, and Milka, the mechanism of defending territory of life in the consortium has been activated in last May to mobilize possible support to our members in Russia. We think that keep solidarity exchange with the custodian communities network outside will be most helpful for self-empowerment inside. 5. Shanshui Conservation Center co-hosted a side event in CBD COP15 Part 2 at Montreal last December. Shared wisdoms, traditions, contributions, and the future of local communities in biodiversity conservation, where Carolina of our international policy team was invited to give a keynote. Time up. Let's stop here. Akma Kai Ajipasalao. Wish you like the Pacific swallows. Ayoy.
Ayoy, Hugo, and Thank you for the Shui Conservation Center for taking up the challenge of being our regional conservation team in East and North Asia. But Hugo, as I said, has a new role in the ICCA consortiums. After 10 years as being regional coordinator, he is now the inter-regional coordinator. So I guess he will handle a larger role, a global role. So thank you again, Hugo, for your report. Now let's go to my region, Southeast Asia. And we shall have Amy Maling, the regional coordinator for Southeast Asia. In behalf of the NTFP Exchange Program, a member from the Philippines, together with her, comprising the regional team, are Femi Pinto and Diana San Jose. Over to you, Amy.
Yeah, thank you, Teddy. Good day, everyone. So I will be presenting what we have been doing in Southeast Asia. So the Southeast Asia is composed of 6 countries. That is Cambodia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Myanmar, the Philippines, and Vietnam. So we are governed by a regional council, which we elected in 2020, and composed of representatives from 5 countries, and also 3 thematic leads. And the regionalization process in Southeast Asia started since 2018, and we are now about to elect the new set of regional council after they've completed the 3 years term since we had the election in 2020. So as Teddy mentioned, we are being coordinated by a regional team that is from the NTFPEP with regional coordinator, that's me, and advocacy and communication coordinator, which is a new member in the coordination team, Cindy from Indonesia, and of course the admin and technical and management support of our colleagues in NTFP, Femi, Diana, and Robin. We also have active country focal points as part of the coordination team. Gordon, he was here today, and also Cindy. And we have Itiwa from Myanmar, Gabi from the Philippines, and Nguyen from Vietnam. So in terms of our advocacy, we just or also in the membership strengthening, we just finished. Sorry, back to next slide. Previous slides, please. Yeah, so in terms of advocacy, the Southeast Asia also have been increasing our visibility in various regional and global platform. The Asia Park Congress, which happened in Sabah, COP27 and COP15, and our participants have been able to provide interventions and participate in various side events in this global platform. And we are also represented or active member of the Indigenous Peoples for Asia Solidarity Fund, which aims to strengthen or increase the access of international funding going directly to indigenous peoples and local communities. And we have been also in solidarity supporting the plight of our indigenous peoples, especially in defending their territories. For example, the ones in the about the logging issue in the Baram Park in Malaysia, and issues around hydropower dam construction in Kaliwa, in Agta ancestral domains in the Philippines. And we have been strengthening also our regional youth. So we just recently also concluded a regional youth camp in Sabah. And recently we also completed a publication of the ICCA reports, status of ICCA in Southeast Asia. In terms of funding, so we have been also actively sourcing fund. Next slide, please. To to support our activities at the regional level, including our regional assemblies and continuing exchange learning among our members in the region. So recently in 2020, we were able to raise around almost 300,000 funds, and that supported our activities. And in 2023-2024, we're working on, we have secured additional 200,000 already and continuing work on our fundraising. In terms of regionalization process, our reflection is that since we had this regionalization, we have more visibility as a group. The solidarity have improved a lot, even if mostly we're just meeting virtually. And we have better opportunities to engage our members. However, we also face challenges in terms of, participation in meetings because of our busy schedules. And I think that's the update from Southeast Asia. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Amy, for that very comprehensive report, and congratulations to Southeast Asia. We shall now have the final. Oh, as the final team in Pacific, before we go to Africa, we will have Jovi Cleofe together with Jimmy Tereseka. They started a new role in May 2022 as the regional coordination team for East Australasia and the Pacific Islands in behalf of the LMMA Network International, which is a key member organization in the region. So let's hear from Jovi.
Good evening. Magandang gabi. Can you hear me? So we officially joined the CCA consortium in May, and we had in the East Australasia and the Pacific Island region, we have 5 members. The LMMA network, locally managed marine area network, which has also members in 7 countries in Asia and the Pacific. And then we have KUA, or KUA ay na Ulu Awam in Hawaii. Then there's another member in Solomon Islands, that's the network for indigenous peoples, Solomons. One is in Taiwan, the Indigenous Taiwan Self-Determination Alliance, or ITWSTA. And one in Australia, the Norfolk Island Council of Elders. So we have 5 members. Currently, we have 5 members in the region. So in May as well, when we joined Jimmy and I joined the regional coordination team under the LMMA, we had our first regional assembly and was attended by 4 of our 5 members. And during the meeting, we had the members discussed and agreed on the vision, the regional governance and operational structure and strategic objectives, which will guide coordination team and the members in what it will do in the next few years. So the mission of the ICCA in East Australasia and the Pacific is to connect more indigenous communities and local communities to the network, to the ICCA consortium in the region, and have a stronger collective voices on issues affecting the territories of life. This is both marine and land, with the ICCA consortium as the change agent needed and vice versa. So that's our agreed vision. For the regional governance, so there was also discussion, how do we govern how the members would want to govern themselves, supported by the coordination team. So It will be governed through a national regional assembly or meeting. And then there's also annual honorary members meeting that was agreed. The advisory board is the members will be comprised of the honorary members of the honorary board. And to strengthen, since we are newly formed, we have targeted quarterly members meeting, which will be supported by regional coordination team, Jimmy and myself. And as mentioned by Teddy, the hub of the regional coordination team is at the LMA Network International, and also coordinates our the team on a fortnightly. So we meet fortnightly, or even more. It depends on the matter at hand. But we also would like to appreciate the support of Hugo during this time up to now, since we started in May. So he was with us supporting the team, what we are doing. In terms of the strategic objectives, because the General Assembly is not just a vision, but it's like a strategic planning as well. So we have the members have agreed on 6 strategic objectives. Number 1 is really support the regional globalization and connect the organizational change of the ICCA consortium with the regionalization process. We also target membership expansion in the region, enhance the impact of the ICCA registry, looking into registration of ICCA at the UNEP registration. We also would like to create a regional database and knowledge base for within the region. To support learning, networking, collaboration, there will be organized and supported national and interregional solidarity exchanges and learning workshops for indigenous peoples and the local communities, which are also including fishing communities. Last is we'd like to strive together for self-strengthening process to sustainable self-determination of the custodian communities of the territories of life. Last year, we're supposed to sponsor or host since it was the International Year of Artisanal Fisheries and Aquaculture, and we have a lot of the members are working in coastal communities, not just the LMA, but also in Hawaii and Solomon Islands. We had a concept paper. We prepared something like a concept paper to. It's a celebration of the gains of the artisanal and small scale fishers, and also an attempt to agree on a policy agenda at the regional level. But this was postponed because of a lack of resources. But this is already in our plan for this year, that we will have a learning event, but at the same time, a policy workshop. So that, and an annual membership. So this will be back to back in terms of hosting or doing this event this year. In terms of membership expansion, there were 2 potential members assisted in terms of application, but they have not yet submitted the application form. This one, but they have signified a willingness to join the ICCA. One from Isabel province. This is the Isabel Chief of Leaders from Solomons, and also a community in Vanuatu. So I think that's all for us from the ICCA, East Austronesia, and the Pacific Islands. Maraming salamat. Thank you.
Thank you, Jovi. Maraming salamat din. It's clear that we have a new regional coordination team in the Australasia and the Pacific Islands, and I'd like to personally congratulate Hugo because I know this is one of your most ambitious goals. And thank you for helping in forming this new regional team. So now from Asia, we travel to Africa, where we will hear from Christian Chatelain, Emmanuel Sule, Joseph Itongwa, Salatu Sambu, and Alexis Cavore. First, we will hear from Christian, who was the regional co-coordinator for Africa in 2022, and is currently the technical advisor for Africa. Hi, Christian.
On n'entend plus.
Oh, pardon, mon micro.
Excuse me, my mic was off, so I tried to just go for 4 minutes. So I'm gonna present at the continental level in Africa what happened in 2022, and my colleagues will present the sub-regions after me. So I'm going to present you 2 things: issues, decisions, and the current situation. And then I'll talk to you about experience and lessons learned in 2022. So the main challenge of regionalization was to set up at the African level a system capable of taking charge of the maximum number of tasks to ensure its own development of networks of ICTS territories of light. So 2022 was a pivotal year for this, as we managed to redefine the map of subregions and of countries that pertain to subregions, because it was not clear until 2022. We did not have a perfect idea of what was the subregions. So we went from 5 to 6 subregions, and each country now in Africa is associated to one of those subregions, which is a very good clarification. So now we have a subregion Northern Africa, West Africa, Central Africa, East Africa, Austral Africa, and another subregion that's Madagascar and Indian Ocean. So East and West in Madagascar are new subregions. So we also went from coordinators to coordination bodies for each subregion, which means that before 2022, we only had individuals that were part of coordination, but now it's organizations that are a coordination of in each of those subregions, except for Southern Africa, because there's no coordination yet today. So the next slide, please. Thank you. So we also defined the representation in Africa at the council level, because before 2022 or until 2022, there were 3 zones. We have 3 representatives to represent the whole continent at the council level. So we redefined those representatives into 6 people Victor Botton, José Marcial Betoules for Central Africa, Ernest Jebko for Eastern Africa, Soufiane Ouzou for Northern Africa, and Volulun, that you already know, for Madagascar. So Australian, sorry, Africa, so there's still no representative. So just note that it's not validated by the General Assembly yet. It's been presented to the Council that validated it. But this isn't a proposition of representation that needs to be validated by the General Assembly. So we hope the 31st of May. So it will be presented to the Secretariat months before. So if we can come back quickly to the previous slide. Can I have the previous slide, please? So just to say that all those new persons, Victor, Marcia, Ines, are new people for the Council. And we hope that Africa will be better represented from now on. And that it will boost activities in Africa and globally for the Council. Next slide, please. So the current situation is what we've done in 2022. So we hold the first Africa Regional Assembly on the occasion of the Congress of Protected and Conserved Areas in Kigali in July 2022. We co-organized the pre-Congress of Indigenous people and local communities, also in Kigali in July 2022. Also participated in the first Congress of Protected and Conserved Areas of Africa and carrying the voice of ICCS territories of life and IPLCs. We developed partnerships with REMPAO, which is a fisherman structure, and also with Natural Justice that is represented across Africa. Also SGP that everyone knows. And also managed to keep the benefits from Kigali with the rest of the actions from the regionalization, with an encounter in Nairobi regarding indigenous people last February, and another one in Morocco, because the ICCS from Africa is invited in at the end of May 2023 to pursue those discussions and the organization of the consortium in Africa. So next slide, please. So the events in Kigali, the three events, the Regional Assembly of ICCS, the pre-Congress and the Congress, demonstrated and increased the energy and commitment. And it proves that in-person meetings, meeting people face-to-face gives a lot of results if you compare it to online meetings that we had for a while now. So working on the field must remain the priority of the sub-regional coordination bodies to maintain what we've been doing since the beginning, which is the principle of bottom-up construction, which means construct from the communities. We need also more support at the sub-regional level, because they have a lot of energy and they're committed, but they lack support, especially financially speaking. And another lesson learned is self-determination and aligned and sustainable financing are two keys to long-term success for Africa. And all the coordinators can say it after me. All the coordinations agree that's where we need to work on. They need to find their own local funds local and national before going abroad for that. And the last point, the last lesson that we might all already know is having more we need, the self-strengthening process. For instance, the Burkina uses that a lot and is translating it. I think Alexei will talk about it later. Excuse me. So I just finished to congratulate the strong work and commitment made by all the coordination bodies and representatives in Africa to move towards autonomy in terms of organization, networks, decisions, partnerships, and foundings. So my work as a co-coordinator for Africa will change this year in 2023. In Council, I'll be a counselor for coordinations. So coordinations in Africa are able to have this coordination role and a structure at the African level, but the elements are here, the strength is here, energy is present, people are present. So I hope to have more council, a council role, because I'm not even myself from Africa. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christian, for giving us a overview of real situation. And now we shall have Emmanuel Sule, who is the regional coordinator for East Africa and Horn of Africa, who is based in Tanzania. But since Sule has an unexpected last-minute travel, we shall have Milka, who was kindly to agree to present his report. Milka is now the policy and advocacy co-coordinator for Africa and based in Kenya.
Thank you, Teddy, for giving me this chance, and greetings to everyone. So I'm reading this statement or delivering this report to you on behalf of Sule. Like it has been said, he has unexpected schedules. So it is my pleasure to report that last year, our members in the region were able to mobilize and present their consolidated messages at the first ever ICCA Consortium Regional Assembly held in July last year in Kigali, Rwanda. And that at the assembly, our members were able to discuss and agree on many issues, including the regionalization process, and the need to strengthen our efforts to, to strengthen the processes for territories of life and secure recognition from the national and subnational governments within their countries. Sorry, second slide. I don't know if you have. So our members were able to strongly and effectively participate at the Indigenous people and local communities pre-Congress that was allowed by the was organized by ourselves. And finally, at the African Protected Area Congress, the commonly known as the APAC, that was held in Kigali. And at the APAC, our members, together with other community members, voiced their concerns, such as evictions of these communities from their ancestral lands and alternatives for these challenges they face. They also managed to get most government bodies and conservation organizations at the Congress to adopt the use of the word Indigenous people and local communities in the statements and for actions going forward. Indigenous people and local community members were also able to present their key issues during these meetings with the former heads of state and some officials from the Ministry of Environment in Rwanda. And over the past year, we have also increased the number of people, the membership, and we have a new member from Tanzania, the first ever ICCA consortium member, and another member from Uganda, which is the first ever. We also had 2 national meetings in Kenya and in Tanzania for the ICCA consortium members in the 2 countries to look at the issues to prioritize and, issues to work together in solidarity with in the 2 countries. And it was, the one in Kenya was graciously held by our member, Natural Justice in Nairobi. And yeah, happened also in Tanzania. So thank you very much. And I wish us all the best.
Thank you, Milka. Now we hear from Joseph Itongwa, the Regional Coordinator for Central Africa, on behalf of the ANAPAC RDC, a member in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Several others from Joseph's organization contributed to this role and to the consortium's work more broadly, including linguistic support and international policy and advocacy. Since Joseph is currently preparing for a major event, his colleague Aquilas Kokongomo will present the Central African report.
Thank you so much, Teddy, to let me speak. So I present this report on behalf of Joseph, the coordinator of Central Africa of the ICCA consortium. He had a last minute event, so he couldn't come. So in this report, I'm going to talk about 2 major points, key points. So the organization of the Sub-Regional Assembly of Central Africa for the ICCA consortium that took place in March 2022. And then I will talk about the cultural festival of Kimsi-Bosa that took place in August 2022. So talking about the Sub-Regional Assembly, this encounter allowed us to reunite representatives from 7 countries of Central Africa: Rwanda, Burundi, Central African Republic, Cameroon, Republic of Congo, and Gabon. So this activity was organized in collaboration
We lose.
Sorry for my connection, but I was explaining that this activity that we organized in collaboration with other organizations from countries from sub-region, it allowed us to build a common engagement for acknowledgement, security of ICCAs and territories of life, indigenous communities, and help it contribute to biodiversity, to fight climate change and maintain substantial way of living. So this was the big result of this General Assembly. But Also, this assembly allowed us to define a roadmap to make this common commitment a real thing. So we are executing this roadmap slowly, and we are trying to make this commitment real with the participation of diverse countries from Central Africa that participated to this encounter. Next slide, please. So I'm gonna also talk about the Biocultural Festival of Kinshasa that we organized in July 2022, August. So it took place in the North Kivu in the Walikale territory, and we organized it with the idea of to contribute to conservation of the communitary forest of Kinshasa for the well-being, the social-cultural well-being, and the conservation of biodiversity. So this was the first goal, but we also had the opportunity to share progress and make our members participate in the preparation and organization of activities, so their voice can be heard in the national problematics, especially during the COP15. Also, to finish this quick presentation, on behalf of the ICCS Consortium of Central Africa, we took the lead for the organization from the point of view of indigenous people and local communities of the sub-region for their participation at the COP15. So we pursued actions on the field to have a common effort to put into place all these events. So this is a quick summary of what I can present in this small amount of time, but thank you very much for listening.
Thank you also, Joseph and Akilas. Let's now hear from Salatu Sambu, the regional coordinator for Coastal West Africa, from the well-known ICCA Kawawana in Casamanque, Senegal.
Good morning to everyone. Thank you, Mr. President, to give me the floor to share with you the updates here in West Africa. So I will share with you three main points today. So first on local level, then national level, and then regional level. Next slide, please. So at the local level, we have been working strongly with grassroots communities. I've been leading two important workshops about governance for two ICCAs, principally in the south of Senegal. This training was aimed to realize governance institutions and so that the communities can really work on their specific grounds. We have been working also about management of the ICCA, and this was led in an inclusive way, so that the community herself has been discussing if her managing plan could really help the work of the ICCA. And this management plan was proposed and then accepted by the community. So this was a really important point in this mission, to really let the community choose. A third point in this training, it was planification. It has been also designed by the communities. So this was really interesting. And this was not just theoretical. Always we try to map all the ICCAs, so we really have material work done also. And after this mapping, we put signals to mark the limits of this ICCA. As you can see here, Kawawana has been also remapped, and now it's bigger than before. And as you can see on the map, we have been growing. And we now have space in the sea for our ICCA Kawawana. The second activity at national level. So we had extraordinary assembly for ANAPAC in March, last March, so that we could speak about all the projects we've been doing for this year, and also for the future, how we can make all this zonal consortium, how we can make them work. And planification, managing plan had been already elaborated, but we had a limit about financial problems. So in this extraordinary assembly in March, we've been talking about this. We also had a workshop about the influence for recognition of the ICCA, Territories of Life, in the frame of the law project called Biodiversity Code here in Senegal. And in this precise moment, this code has been pre-validated in the institutions of the country. So here, biodiversity is really being looked upon by the president, by the Environmental Commission, and by the parliamentaries. So we are really now waiting for the final validation by Parliament for this biodiversity code, and so that's we will see after how will be the how will it take place. And another point, we have to say that Kawawana is aging, so we need to think about youth. So we really want to train young people to community conservation, to territories of life, and to really prepare these young people to take our seats in the future. Next slide, please. At regional level. So we've been leading a mission in Guinea-Conakry in the frame of the self-strengthening process. And we've been accompanying our colleagues there in Guinea with an organization that really helped on this process. And as you know, this country in Guinea is not quite listened to, so it was really interesting to have this work there. And so we really are working so that ICCAs are being recognized, at least known by the governments. I could there visit and know all the Ministry of the Environment, the Minister of the Environment there. So that this country could at least take into account ICCAs in the different events that are being organized. And I think this could really help to find solutions for ICCA there in Guinea. We had help from SGP, Natural Justice, and we could work and have alliance with these organizations so that we can have also more voice and make the ICCA more visible in Guinea. We also could strengthen alliances through Ramparo and Natural Justice. So here today, this process has been strengthened a lot. So really, we are. It's a big success, and we also need more NGOs who have capacity, you know, to sustain us with people, but also with finance in region and sub-region, so that we can organize activities that help ICCAs. So this had take time, I must say, but in brief, with Rampao, they agreed to sustain the sub-region, but mainly in countries where they are present, so mainly West Africa, not in the whole region. But they have agreed to they have agreed to have one person working nearly full time for ICCAs. So with Christian and the Ramparo secretary, we will have a meeting soon to discuss the details of these recruitments. About natural justice, we've also been discussing a lot. They say that they are ready to sustain us, to help us. And if we can find someone we can recruit to help us, Natural Justice could give this person accommodation, but they couldn't give this person a salary. But well, it's a good point, because they would have an office and this person could really dedicate its time to his or her time to the region. That's all for me. Thank you.
Okay, merci beaucoup sa lahat to. Now, last but not the least, after we will have Alexis Cabore, the regional coordinator for the Sahel, on behalf of the NATODEM, which is one of our members in Burkina Faso. Alexis, building up a team approach, this role involving several
Bonjour tout le monde.
Hi everyone. Yeah, so I will present the outcomes for Sahel in 2022.
Et donc, bon, la région Sahel, donc il y avait une carte qui montre les 8 pays
So in Sahel, we have 8 countries. And let me show you a little bit about the progress made in 2022. So we must say that communities, local communities, are stronger and stronger. This was being done through a national network that is strengthening and expanding membership. So this was possible through the organization of different activities, the holding of the Third National Assembly in Burkina Faso, etc., and so on. The second point is that the community networks at the grassroots level is really organized. And the third success is the recognition of traditional modes of organization by states. This was done through traditionally anchored official associations. So this is really a big progress for us here. And we are still waiting to have experiences of local community governance charts for ICCAs. Second point is the communication around ICCAs and consortium and new actors that are getting in it. So we had IUCN, West Africa, and the French community for IUCN. This has been a great discovery for us all. We could present the ICCA and how ICCAs function. We could so present this to new village communities in Burkina Faso. We had radio broadcasts in different languages, in French and English. So a lot of people are hearing about ICCAs thanks to these radio broadcasts. And I'm really trying also to share the idea of ICCAs at the universities through courses, supervision of theses, seminaries, publications. So this is also new activities, and for us, it's really a good progress for last year. And the third progress has been the strengthening of different partnerships. So we had a continuing collaboration with SGP, GAF in the implementation of GSE-funded projects. Our participation also of the Ministry of Environment. We had a new partnership with the West African Monetary Union, and this is great also because they have a great influence in the country. We had new identified and documented ICCAs. We also had a working session with the national coordinator of SGP-GEF in Niger. So we haven't discussed the details yet, but this is a success. I've been visiting cultural sites and I've been assisting to ceremonies in Benin. We could exchange with the member of the ICCA consortium, Great Benin. And this was really interesting to see how this organization is organizing its activities. So these are the great success for 2022, and we also had different telephone exchanges on the activities of another member. And the last point is our regular contribution to the Secretariat. So we have tried to participate in the best we could through consultation, through reports and articles. We went to Kigali also. We could share articles on our progress. We also participate in the nomination process of a council member with Victor Button. And we've been supporting the inclusion of new members in the ICCA consortium. So here are great progress for 2022. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alexis. Let's see. Thank you to all our regional coordinators from Africa. So last but not the least, we now go to Latin America, which we will have a joint presentation from our 3 regional coordination teams in that region. We have Albert Chan Zul, the regional coordinator for Mesoamerica, on behalf of the Yuyich Lum, a member in Mexico. We also will have Carmen Miranda, the regional coordinator for the Amazon, on behalf of Savia, a member in Bolivia, and Lorena Arce, a regional coordinator for the SouthCon, on behalf of the Observatorio Ciudadano, which is our member in Chile. All 3 regional teams involve several other people as well, including Sharon, Janet Zin, Karina, Simon, and others. This is part of the Secretariat's ongoing efforts to strengthen a collective team approach to this important role and to build the next generation of leadership and support for our membership. This collective report will be presented by Albert and by our new president of the ICCA consortium, Senor Luis Guillermo Izquierdo. He is the new president of the ICCA consortium for the Latin American Regional Council. So let's now hear from our friends from Latin America.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to say hello to all our colleagues from other continents. We have already been introduced, so let's see if we can stick to the time. So now we will present our report in 2-3 information blocks. Let's say we will talk about the characteristics, our structure, who are we in the different regions as well. Secondly, also different situations that are in the region, and ultimately some of the challenges and the outgoing activities. In this first part, I will be presenting, then our technical secretariat of the region, Albert, will continue this part. So now we will start. Maybe there are many of you who know this region structured. We are 3 parts: North Mesoamerica, one of the central, formed by 5 countries. These are Bolivia, Ecuador, Peru, Colombia, and the third that we call Cono Sur. These are the rest of the countries. I would like to say as well that our region is formed by 5 members and 206 honorary members. In total, there are 14 countries. I would like to highlight that these members as well are autochthon population, Afro-descendants. There are also honorary members, as I said, and in most of the cases, they are part of organizations that fight for defense and protection of these populations. Now, the following slide, please. As you can see now in this map, this would be Mesoamerica. We have 14 members, as you can see, of people and local communities of base, and also 42 honorary members. There are in total 6 countries. I would like to say that in the case of Mexico, from their grassroots organizations, we have the UYLUM, and they have been on this role of the technical secretariat from Albert. He's the one in charge. These are the other organizations. As you can see, there are local communities, autochthon populations, and also other organizations that fight for the defense of territories of life. Please, next slide. Now we can see here we have the subregion of the Amazon. It's also part of some grassroots organizations, also some NGOs that work for the defense of the territory. In addition, here, the Technical Secretariat is in charge of the organization Salvia, and that's Bolivia. And in this sense, is our colleague Carmen Miranda who is leading this role. As you can see, there are many organizations. One of the main characteristics is that in this frame of the regionalization, we've tried to aim for the internal development of each country with different networks and with some structural dynamics and biocultures of the territories that are characteristic of LATAM. They have been structuring and dynamizing these various forms to work. Also, in this sense, we can move forward with different activities. Next, well, lastly, I would like to say that we have 30 members and local communities. This would be the other number. And if we can move to the previous slide, please, just for a moment. Well, let's just continue. Well, Cono Sur would be the southernmost countries, Argentina, as you can see, Chile. We have here similar organizations. We have 15 members of local communities and autochthon population, 9 honorary members of the countries that I already mentioned. The technical secretariat is our colleague Lorena, the one in charge, and she's part of the Observatorio Ciudadano. Please, next slide now. Well, now it's Albert who is taking the floor. Hello, good morning, everyone. Morning again. On behalf of my colleagues, my coordinators, I would like to present all the points that already has presented our president of the region. We would like to continue talking about the threats. They are various, but this would be the most important ones that you can see here, I think, everywhere, but most specifically here in Latin America, destructive threats. As you can see, infrastructure, these are related to financiarization, especially in the north. Another one of the most important ones is climate change. It has changed all the processes to maintain our ways of life in our territories of life. And of course, another one that is a big concern for us after all the moving forward at international level. Exclusionary conservation, for example, we have seen different examples, and in Latin America, we have various examples of this. On the next slides, we would like to talk about different initiatives depending on the region. Firstly, the self-strengthening and collective learning of ICAs, especially with some organizations in Panama, Cupe Solidar, also in Mexico, with the members Nuwari, Tanan, and Wichlu. This is an initiative that has been coordinating from our colleagues in Costa Rica. We've been also working in Honduras, although we don't have members yet. In Mexico, we have different initiatives in 2022. It will end in 2024. It's research. One of them is building bridges to find the solutions in the Yucatan Peninsula. Others are strengthening communities and preserve ecosystems. Between some honorary members, we have also been coordinating different activities to solve some problems of the COVID, and also some recent gains that we have seen in our communication area. Ibeth is a new colleague, and she's now part of the staff of the Secretariat. We have initiated a campaign. We have some updates from Nicaragua. We have big concerns about this problem, and from the chair, we have been asked to please find new ways to try to change somehow these territories and all these threats. Please, next slide. Now we can see here in the Amazonian, we can see many initiatives. Well, it's a shame for us, some representatives, that we have no space to present all of these initiatives. We would need all the necessary information. Maybe we could have a summary and then share it with you. For example, now in Bolivia, they have this assembly in 2023, strengthening as an ICA network. In Brazil, they have had their 4th meeting, and now they are in this process of mapping more than 233 potential ICAs, and also other institutions and members. They have been disseminating materials, videos, and guides. In Colombia, we know a lot about the ICA network in this country. I would say that it has been important a step forward to register TICA. In the case of Ecuador, they have had their meeting, in this case last year, and they would constitute an ICA network with these 8 indigenous organizations, 2 allied, and 4 NGOs. In Peru, they have continued with inclusive conservation initiative projects, and they're moving forward with different strategies with their territories of life. Next slide. In this sense, there has been different initiatives in Cono Sur. We have talked about some of them. For example, in Coastal Communities Initiative in Chile. In this one, we are part of Mesoamerica and Cono Sur. We constitute like Mesoamerica. We defend the sea and we defend the women's testimonies. Other activities have been developing to elaborate an impact strategy of the Futamawisa. And as I said, the Inclusive Conservation Initiative in Chile, Argentina, constructing a plan for the Mbilla Guarani people in this case. Next, please. Here we would like to remember some of the meetings of last year. In the case of Mesoamerica, one meeting in Panama, also in Guatemala of the ICA network, besides in Mexico with some members, honorary members, in El Salvador as well. And lastly, we had the opportunity in last November to have our first meeting as members of the sub-region Mesoamerica. In case of the Amazon. We participate in the 5th summit for Amazon. Another important meeting was, well, as there were a lot of members, it was kind of complicated to have this sub-region. So they just decided to have this focal points meeting, and they just proposed this alongside with Carmen Miranda. Please, next slide now. Now, lastly, I would like to give the floor to our president so that they can talk about this important point of this year. So now we can slowly be finishing now. After January, we celebrated the third assembly of the ICA network in Tárcoles, Costa Rica, from the 25th to the 28th January. We've been participating there. Many people, many honorary members just participated as local members, local communities. And within this frame, we have been revising all the previous work, also the difficulties, the circumstances that we've been suffering since the COVID-19. This is a challenge for our region and others. It has had some disastrous consequences, although in this space we could talk about different solutions and to move forward in this process of defending and work for initiatives for our own good. And in this next slide, I would like to say that within this assembly, we had the opportunity to work within 8 working groups. Firstly, referring to the consortium as global, we had one of the axes was documenting, advocate, another sustaining, communicating international policy, coastal marine, living territories. And of course, we have our situation in our region, so that's why it's very important. And on the other hand, women and youth as well. In this space, we have acknowledged ourselves and the most complicated problems, and with these different axes of working, we have our targets and our challenges. Also, it was important, they have already commented on this assembly made it possible to change the organizational body. And in this sense, also from our colleagues, they have designated new people. And it's me in this case. I am part of this area, also Josefina from Ecuador, Javier from Chile, Lázaro as well from Panama, Mirta from Paraguay, and Maria Luisa from Nicaragua. All these people, we are this new platform, and from our different bodies, we would like to coordinate as a board to initiate this working plan for the 23-24. And we would like to move forward. And also another important point was taking into account all the voices of territories and talking about the need to work together to defend the territories of life. We have been talking about other challenges, for example, climate change. And in this sense, we need to pay attention to this. So now I would end my presentation. All our friends from all over the world, from Latin America, we salute you from all our networks. Thank you very much on behalf of us.
Thank you, Gracias, Senor Luis, President of the Latin America Regional Council. And thank you to all our regional coordinators. Is there anything I'd like to add, Holly?
Yes, thank you so much, Teddy. I just wanted to take a moment to really acknowledge the incredible work of the regional coordination teams over the past year. They're working in often very challenging circumstances, whether it's active armed conflict or internet connectivity, long distances for travel, high cost of living, and so on and so forth. So there are many external challenges that the regional teams in particular are facing in this work. So I just want to acknowledge that that is part of the reality, and they're doing incredible work, as everyone has heard today. They're doing incredible work despite these challenges, and they're so dedicated to this work and to the membership. So I just wanted to really acknowledge and thank all of you in the regional teams, and maybe ask everyone in the membership to give a virtual congratulations or applause or something for the regional teams. What they have shared is still just the tip of the iceberg of the amazing work that's happening, but I hope it was inspiring for all of you and giving you even more ideas of the additional things that you can contribute in the membership as well. So huge thanks to all the regional teams from me and hopefully from the membership as well for the amazing work that you're all doing in service of the association. Teddy, back to you. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Holly. And congratulations to everyone again, to our regional coordinators, as well, of course, our global secretariat. Hopefully, next General Assembly, we will have reports from the other regions as well. Okay. Please remember that the second half of our GA session will focus on the regionalization process. So we will have after this break for an exchange and discussion. So therefore, if you have any clarifications, questions, or feedback, you can place chat, and this will be answered by our regional coordinators because we are running behind schedule. And they will answer your questions in the group chat. So now we will proceed to, before we have a break, we will proceed to noting the report of our regional coordinators. Are there any objections? If there are no objections to the report of the regional coordination teams, the report is hereby noted. Okay, so now we will have a short break for a few minutes. We will meet back, we will meet again after 5 minutes, okay, from now. So please take a moment to fill out this short survey about the General Assembly. We will also share the link at the end of today's session. You can share your feedback on today's session and the first session last month. So let's have a break. We'll see you after 5 minutes. Okay, welcome back, everyone. I hope you had an impactful short break. now have the second part of our General Assembly, and I assure you this will be much shorter than the first part of this GA. But we will have some substantive discussions about what was just presented. So if you have issues or clarifications or questions, now would be the time. But before anything else, we shall have a very important photo session. So may I ask all our members to please turn on your screens, and may I request the Secretariat to take our photo for documentation purposes, for posterity. Yes, hello, hi. Hi guys, nice to see you all. So Secretariat, just prompt us, no? So that we will be ready with our smiles. Who's taking our photo? So if you're ready, just prompt us. We will start our posing. So are we ready, Secretariat? Who's taking our picture? Otherwise, just freeze your smiles. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Wait a bit, because not everyone has the camera on.
Okay, just a minute more for all of us to turn on our screens.
Okay, I think we are done. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know. Well, that's the thing with online meetings. You're not prepared for the photo session. I do hope I had a nice smile. Okay. So now let's proceed to the second part of General Assembly, and I would like to ask our global coordinator, Holly Jonas, to facilitate discussions. So over to you, Holly.
Thank you so much, Teddy. You don't need to worry about getting ready for photos. You always look photo ready. So wonderful to have everybody still with us. As you know, the official schedule is up until 20 minutes from now. Thanks to the interpretation team, we have up until the full hour. So we have an additional 30 minutes with interpretation after the original schedule. Hola, Sara and little one. And so if you do need to leave at the, hola, querida. If you do need to leave after the 2.5 hours scheduled, no problem, we understand. But if you are able to stay a little bit longer for more discussion, that would be excellent. So what we're going to do basically is have a little bit of background context from myself and from Hugo, and then we'll have a few specific questions that I'll share, and hopefully some of the regional coordinators and or regional council representatives will be able to share their reflections. So please, team, be ready to respond to a few questions to each of you. And then we'll open it up for questions from the full membership. That Teddy, I'll pass it back to you as the GA chair to facilitate that open Q&A. So the topic of our discussion and exchange right now is the regionalization process. And this is a process that started officially back in 2018. This was agreed at the 2017 General Assembly in Geneva, which some of you were part of, as a key strategic priority for the association. And this was included in our strategic plan, and it was identified as a very important process in order to ensure that our work as an association, as well as our team, the Secretariat, and particularly important, the Council is also representative of the membership at the grassroots level. So as an association of members and honorary members, ensuring that our work, our representation in the Council, our Secretariat support is very strongly grounded at the most local level possible. Yeah. So since 2018, it's now been 5 years, I guess, we've been undergoing this regionalization process in different ways. Obviously, during the COVID-19 pandemic in the past few years, it was quite challenging for different reasons, though the regional teams, as you heard in the first half, still have continued on with amazing work with organizing national assemblies, sub-regional and regional assemblies, and strengthening the membership and so on. So we have managed, despite very major global challenges, to continue with this regionalization process. And there have been lots of important insights and lessons and challenges we've overcome together. So this session today is intended to go just a little bit below that surface of the activities that we've been doing and to try to better understand and share with each other some of the deeper level reflections, lessons learned, and so on. Yeah. So Hugo, if you are ready, I'll maybe pass it over to you for your overview remarks and reflections on the regionalization process as of now. And then I'll go to a few facilitated questions for the regional teams and council members. Hugo, over to you. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Holly. But first, we should applaud for the wonderful works by our regional coordination teams. Thank you for requiring me to have a brief overview remarks and some reflections. But you know, this is just from me, and more will from our colleagues. So as a background, or as a context, according to our membership basis, there are, or we have 3 major and 3 minor mega regions. The major 3 is Asia Pacific, Africa, and Latin America. The minor 3 is the North America, Europe, and the Arctic. You already seen that, from the report of our Latin American team, integrated presentation and about the Latin America. And not be mentioned, but it's also very important is the regionalization process already. They already self-organized and have the assembly, have the council, and even have the secretariat organized by the 3 regional coordination team. And they also have create working groups that is responding or resonant to the organization of our global council. So it is a great model that in the future, I say the documenting, the 3 teams, they're documenting and defending and sustaining. And all the other things, say international policy, communication, and women and the youth, all these will be grow up from the mega region assembly, council, and secretariat, and to collaborate with the global council and the secretariat. And you also hear a very detailed updates from Christian about the future reorganization of the African mega region. There will be 6 sub-regions, 6 coordinators, and the 6 representative seats in the council. And for Asia Pacific, maybe the most not currently with the most membership, but if for talking about the custodian communities or territory of life, or by definition in the people in the local communities, yeah, they have the most population of it. And now we have not yet developing or evolving the mega region assembly, council, or secretariat, but it is emerging. We starting the first talk recently, but I should also tell you that yes, now the 5 sub-region in this mega region, yeah, with the hub organization and the coordination teams have good capacity and the diversity. You can see Senestar for Central and West Asia, and who is working from the beginning, pastoralist territories of life. And the Kapa work in South Asia, including the more than 1 million Adivasi in India, which is yet to be presented and represented. And for Sansui, our new coordination team, only China, we include the 105 million Chinese minorities. And for the Siberia, Far East or North of the Russian Federation, yeah, the diversity of the indigenous people. And for NTF-PEP, for Southeast Asia, yeah, by definition, work mostly focus on the forest people's territory of life. And for East Austronesian, the Pacific, the Latin America, the LMMA Network International, sorry. Yeah, by definition is focused on more on the marine and the coastal people's territory of life. So you can see the Asia Pacific mega region assembly and council will be also very potential. So I share only a few as a reflection, some key points. So we should, for the 3 minor or underdeveloped mega regions, we should be seeking for regional hub organization with coordination teams of a good capacity. And from early this month, I also starting to discuss, say, with Marco, and then early next month with the Thiebault, and also with Marco, we will have maybe organize a working group, organized mostly by our honor member and some key members, yeah, to talking about it, yeah, to seeking for the enhancement of the minor one. And the second is that developing, very important, developing under the regional coordination, developing the national network and umbrella organization to support the territories of life in all types. Maybe by, say, like in Taiwan, we are doing the joint declaration and the mutual recognition of the custodianship of the communities, indigenous people or local communities. Yeah, before solidarity campaign and the negotiation with the state government or its agencies. The other is improve representation in the council and the better technical and financial support by the Secretariat. So maybe we will also hear from our Latin American friends and also African friends. Yeah, what your expectation or needs, yeah, to implement the further regionalizing process. So the last will be, let's connect the organizational restructuring of the consortium with the regionalization process. Of course, the regional coordinator teams would assist and follow the consensus decision-making process on the building of the mega regional assembly and councils to better presenting and represented in the governance of the Global Council and the management of the Secretariat. And the solidarity process should be including solidarity exchange and the peer learning. And I hope that very soon, with the help of the global team, yeah, we'll be one by one to talk with, to talk with each mega region, and also maybe within this year hold a workshop on to share the experience or knowledge of the or challenge of the regionalization process since 2018. Thank you. So I would like to hear more from our colleagues. Ayoy.
Thank you so much, Hugo. That was a great big picture overview, as well as some of the specifics from how the regionalization process is evolving in the different regions. So I'd like to maybe start with quite an open, light question for the regional teams, the regional council reps who are with us today. Obviously, over the 3 years, particularly of the pandemic, most of us were not able to get together in person again. And in some regions, it was safer to gather a bit earlier than in other regions. We had the waves of the pandemic and so on. So when people did start gathering again, whether it was in very small group local settings or nationally, or even between 2 or 3 countries, there was such a sense of, wow, elation, and the human contact was so exciting for everybody. So I just wanted to ask, maybe some of our regional teams, maybe from Diana, maybe Victor from the Sahel, from Karina, maybe from Chile. What was it like for you to gather in person again in the different assemblies, and how important is the in-person connection to strengthening those relationships and the work collectively? Maybe Diana, if you're there, if I can tag you first, and then maybe Victor.
Yeah, hi Holly, and hi everyone. It's Diana. So I think in Southeast Asia, we were able to gather in person last October, and it was great because I think it was the first time in 2 years that everyone was able to meet again, and the energy exchange was just very different. We were also able to kind of validate and inspire or re-energize each other with the plans that we made online. So I think it's been good that we've started to do in-person gatherings again. And some of us were also able to meet in Montreal during the last COP15. So it was great to meet with the other regional coordination teams as well. and the members of the Global Secretariat. So I think if there are more opportunities for that, then it would be great for everyone to kind of get the momentum going again for the initiatives that we usually plan online. And I think since then we've also started to actually be able to follow up with the plans that were made. So it's been great so far, and I hope that we have more of that in the future. Thanks, Holly.
Thanks, Diana. Excuse me. Yes, I agree that the importance, the region specific as well as the interregional global is really nice to have that. Victor, if you're there, do you want to share anything about this question? What it was like to gather again in person, both, nationally, regionally in Africa?
Yes, thank you very much, Holly, for this opportunity to share this, especially after the COVID context. During the last 3 years, we had some in-person meetings, especially in Sahel. In spite of the context, but we managed to break barriers and to have our first experiences to work together towards regionalization. Also multiplied encounters online, especially at the African level, with some initiatives that increases opportunity and links between members, and I think it's really working. And at the national level, especially, there's communities with more intense actions, and they work together. And we can build solidarity together, and this regionalization that we are doing right now together. And this is the time for me to thank this, especially in the Western African zone, and for all the energy that we put into that, and to share this with the ICCS communities, and it's slowly evolving. So thank you very much, Holly. That's why I wanted to share.
Thank you so much, Victor. Maybe Karina, if you're there, Karina Vargas from Observatorio in Chile. If you're there, I'd just like to ask you as well on this question, as you've more recently joined the regional coordination team for the South Cone. I think you may have met everyone in the Latin American Assembly, maybe for the first time in January. So what was it like for you as a newer member of the team to get together in person, build those relationships together finally?
Hola, buenos días a todos y todas. Bueno, para mí la asamblea en Costa Rica fue la primera vez en que tuve la oportunidad de ver a todos presencialmente, a poner rostro.
It's been great to see you all. After all these virtual meetings, it was very exciting, I would say, and we have been also articulating work in a more deep way. We could coordinate directly with people, and I've already seen this to start with this action plan, and at the same time all these thematic groups, for example, coordinating, well, in my case it's been with women, so connecting with international policies. And we had this previous contact in Costa Rica. We had seen each other, and there started the coordination. Also this women group
as a representative in Costa Rica. This also a representative in other countries. We have had already conversations, so the coordination was made more naturally and it simply flows better. So personally, I would say that it brings many positive points. It was a great opportunity to strengthen relations and have more deep discussions.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And you've done brilliant work already with the women's group and strengthening our focus in the region on gender issues and women's rights as well. So thank you for that. So maybe if we come back to the African team, the African regional representatives in the council and or some of the regional coordinators. Obviously, we've been continually reflecting and discussing and evolving the regionalization process, and particularly within the African region. As Christian shared earlier, you've revised the regions within the region of Africa, both for the regional coordination teams and for the regional representatives in the Global Council. So just wondering if any of you would like to share a bit more about why this part of the process was so important. And now that we do have the revised council representation for the region that reflects really what the membership wants to see, how is this such an important part of the regionalization process? So maybe just, to any of the regional coordinators or regional council representatives from Africa, if you'd like to respond. Maybe is Salatu there?
Yes, I'm here. So, as I said in the beginning, the regionalization is a process that's important to me. And Christian organizes the meetings online to move forward. And on our side, we do our best to structure this. So we're all aware that what we need to do to meet our goals, and we need a strategy to elaborate the document that we need so it can work perfectly. So I want to thank the people working with me, like Alexis, and I hope that in a couple of months we can really structure this and have a better idea of who we are together. Thank you.
Thank you, Salatu. Yes, and it's been such a dynamic and active process. And you, Salatu, and Alexi, and Joseph, and many others in the region have done such great work organizing national assemblies as well as sub-regional, and then coming together at the Pan-African level with the big events in Kigali last July. So great, maybe I'll turn to the Southeast Asia team now. So Ami or Femi, if you're still there, I know it's super late in the Philippines. If you can speak, it would be great, Ami or Femi. So I know you've done really well with regular communication with the membership in Southeast Asia, a very collective process of strategic planning, an active regional council. As you mentioned in the report earlier, You've done amazing work with fundraising and having support for the regional work independently of the Global Secretariat. So looking back over the past several years of the regionalization process, what would you say are the key elements or maybe enabling factors for this regionalization process in Southeast Asia in particular? So Ami, if you're willing, that would be great. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Holly, for giving me this opportunity also to reflect on the regionalization in Southeast Asia. For me personally, I think the biggest factor in really having an active regionalization process in the region is the members. Of course, they're very active, the members that we have, and the council members that we elected in 2020. They're always there, very active, attending our monthly meeting, and the monthly meeting sort of became a very important platform in sharing what is happening in the country, and also identifying the support that are needed by our members at the country level. So that's very important, and also sharing the experiences, the learnings, lessons learned, and that are also applied or replicated in other countries. And also another important factor, I would say, are the focal points, the country focal points, who have been very active at the national level, but are also active in supporting the regional work, and they became our important bridge to our members at the national level, and building also the national assemblies, I would say. And of course, the Secretariat really providing the technical support, communication support that we need, and also the funding support for us really to continue our operation. And of course, NTFPEP, the strong team in NTFPEP for providing all the logistic, administrative, and technical support to the membership. Thank you.
Salamat po. That's, yeah, brilliant work. Hugely appreciate all that. I'll spotlight you. Great, thanks, Ami, and totally agree with that. There are so many factors at play, and I think the Southeast Asia region has been a great example of, trying to strengthen multiple things at the same time. Sometimes there's a little, something works particularly well, and then another thing catches up, and so on. So it's been really beautiful to see that evolving over the past several years, and the NTFPEP team as the regional coordination team has been super dedicated and really actively working on leveraging this work as well, and leveraging your fundraising connections to support the regional work. So that's been a huge factor from my perspective too. Marco, if you are there, I believe you're in Zoom. If you're listening, if you are willing to speak for a moment. Marco is, hold on, let me ask a question first. So Marco is,
Scusa, eccomi, sono io. Ho dovuto interrompere 5 minuti, ho perso il filo del discorso. È un piccolo rapporto sull'Europa.
Can you hear me?
Sì.
Okay. I'll just ask you a question.
Yes, only
okay?
I've lost the connection for a while, and I just heard my name. And is it? Should I give you a short report on Europe?
I'll just ask you a question if you're okay. If you can hear me, okay? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Great. 1 second. So I think we were just hearing from Ami and the Southeast Asia team about the membership base being such an important part of strengthening the regionalization process in Southeast Asia. And I know it's been a little challenging in the European context. There's sort of this chicken and egg scenario with, oh, when you don't have much membership or we don't have a coordinator or the council, etc. So there's this really interesting relationship between the membership base, having a regional coordinator, having a regional council representative, all working together, hopefully, to strengthen the work of the association in any particular region. But in some regions, maybe we only have one or two of those three kind of pieces of the puzzle. So I just wondered if, you as the council representative, and you have done amazing work in recent months in particular, to organize the assembly in December, to strengthen the grassroots membership in Italy, to ensure we have interpretation in Italian in the General Assembly, and so on. So just wondering if you can tell us a bit more about your current kind of thinking about this dynamic between the membership base, the regional council, the regional coordination team, and what do you think have been the main challenges in Europe and what needs to happen next to maybe get us into a next kind of phase of momentum in Europe? Thanks.
Okay, well, in Europe we've been, can you hear me? Okay, in Europe we have wait, I have a problem. I have the translation, I have to remove it, otherwise, okay, now it's fine. Okay, in Europe we have, a gap in the sense that we don't have a coordination established. So as councillor, I'm trying to find out a way to arrive at establishing a kind of coordination that would work in the wonderful way we have seen today is doing in other region. The difficulty is exactly in having a kind of startup. We have small membership, especially grassroots membership. I was impressed, by Latin America with that high number of grassroots organization, community, indigenous people being member of the consortium. So really, I think, somehow we can, I'm trying to get inspiration how to proceed in Europe. Perhaps the best way is to establish a coordination until we get a way to have a more stable, more substantial way to implement, to carry on with the coordination work. What is really required is the coordination work. I was also impressed by the number of ACCA that have registered in India, and we also should go in the same direction. We should find a way, to motivate unities, but also, the coordination is a challenge. It's really a challenge. The way we are figuring out is by trying to get some financial support to using the projects that are available in Europe that is a different way, modality of work compared to other regions of the world. We do not have support from international development. We should use standard project and program at the European level. These projects and programs are highly technical and are not designed in a way that, because the commons or the territories of life are not recognized, the calls are not addressed to territories of life. So it's a kind of difficult startup. This is what we are really trying to target as in our current initiative. But I think unless we strengthen the grassroots participation, we are in trouble in the sense that we don't have really the legitimacy to claim or to promote initiative at the European level.
Grazie, Marco. Yeah, I think those are very important reflections, and I think that also resonates in North America as well. There's amazing work happening. I think just for some reason, we have not been able to sort of attract or inspire a strong membership base yet at the regional level. But also, I think, you know, in Europe and North America, not exclusively, but there are many civil society support organizations that also work internationally and can also play an important role in supporting the interregional or, you know, multinational, let's say, solidarity support from their base in Europe or North America or Australia and so on. So even if we're struggling to strengthen the very grassroots membership base, which we should absolutely, there's also a role to play, particularly in our membership, for civil society organizations that can also play that support role with advocacy, with access to funding sources, with political issues and so on. So I just wanted to say there's that dynamic too. Yes, great. Thank you so much, Marco. That's really important reflections. Maybe just as my final question, I want to turn back to Latin America. There was a very interesting point in the chat from Delphin that I was also thinking along similar lines. So there are, maybe, you know, in Latin America, if we can perhaps hear from one of the new council members that was elected at the regional assembly, perhaps, yeah, any of the new council members. One of the points that we've discussed before is really the distinction, or perhaps the need to better distinguish the ICC consortium from some of the existing quite well-established political representative bodies in Latin America. Obviously, COICA is a very well-known one in the Amazon region. There are many national indigenous federations. There are some sub-regional. Mesoamerica has a very powerful organization as well. And these are direct, you know, politically representative bodies and specific to their certain geographies or rights holder groups, yeah? So I think one of the points I would love to hear from our new council members in Latin America, what do you see as this relationship and or the distinction between these region-specific political bodies with the ICC consortium, and what do we as the ICC consortium perhaps bring to the table to complement these political bodies? I hope that's sufficiently clear. Yeah, so I don't know, Luis Guillermo, if you would like to speak again, or Lazaro, or Maria Luisa, any of the new council reps from the region. Luis Guillermo, please.
Hola, Holly, gracias. Me alegra saludarte, al igual que a todos los que estamos.
Holly, hello. A pleasure to say hello to you. I will try to keep it short. It's very important. Their regionalization is a key point. Also, the activities and all the concerns on the ground, they are similar ones on a daily basis. But Holly may know we have been talking also with the governance body. We have been revising this instrument of governance from the consortium. And we have started, well, there's a guide, and it's also the momentum to strengthen the work of the structure of all the bodies, all the working groups in the within the different topics. In this sense, we have been discussing with other groups in Mesoamerica, Cono Sur, with all the different parts, and of course here in the Amazon. So we wanted to talk about the participation in specific with the board, the governing body, because this governing instrument visualizes us. We can propose things, but it's also important maybe to talk about that. The regions, as we have been seeing already, they have somehow a representation within the consortium globally. But what have we seen? I think we'll have a consensus on this. In this sense, we would give importance to what we understand as a board of directors. This would be a bridge for communication, so that they will have the responsibility of all the situations, of all the richness, but at the same time of the problems that we have in our region. They are getting more and more complicated. So we have an agenda that we haven't finished yet of all these problems that threaten all of the indigenous and autochthon people in Latin America. So this council may not be on paper, but maybe we can come onto a consensus and we can reflect on it, so that this group would have a more direct dialogue as a steering group. In this sense, we could carry on the mission and advocate for activities and actions that could visibilize all the territories. And more specifically, we could discuss about this in a qualitative manner, but we would not advance more. But from the Latin American Council, we would like to aim for a better structure and a better coordination and articulation with all the focal points and the working groups. This would be a mechanism to work more efficiently, and lastly, try to promote and advocate for all the populations as the global consortium. Thank you, Holly, for giving me this opportunity. I just wanted to put this on the table and in some sense try to move forward. So we'll just wait for that, and thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, there's lots of interesting things to be doing and discussing together. I'm very conscious of the time because we went quite a bit over time in the first part of the session. This part of the session, unfortunately, was a bit squeezed. So we only have 5 minutes left with interpretation, and Teddy has to share some closing remarks for the official GA part. So I want to pass it back to Teddy. Obviously, there's a lot more to discuss on this topic. So if you want to share your comments in the chat box, we could set up breakout groups, language-specific breakout groups, if you do want to talk more after the official closing of the GA session. But obviously, this is one small conversation in a much bigger process. So we absolutely welcome your additional comments, questions. We can have region-specific discussions or have another exchange at some point soon with more time to discuss this in more detail. So thank you everyone who's contributed so far and responding on the spot to these questions. Teddy, I'll pass back to you for now to help close the official part. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Holly. Yes, I do hope we'll perhaps schedule another session to discuss about the regionalization process. And as I mentioned before, we do hope that we can get North America and Europe to be more active in the next GA. But thank you, everyone, for your inputs, for your sharing. And now, as we conclude this session, we'd like to thank our interpreters, Alessandra, Aurora, Ivana, Camila, Elena, Mabel, Raquel Hernández, Raquel Aguilar, and Sürya. So they provided us a brilliant interpretation in 6 languages. And we hope to see you all tomorrow, Thursday, same time, for a special membership engagement event on the ICCA Consortium's Manifesto for the Territories of Life, which will be led and facilitated by the councils. We'll be chairing that discussion tomorrow, so please join us. If you haven't yet registered for this optional session, please do so now using the link shared in the chat box. Otherwise, we will see you in our last session for this GA. That will be on May 31. So in the next few weeks, please look out for messages in the key info email list and in Núñez about the simple steps that you can take to help prepare for this 3rd session. We will likely have some, so this is very important, we will have our council elections during the next session. And we would like to encourage everyone to contribute to this important governance process. Hopefully, we will have completed all nominations by May 3 in order to be considered during the 3rd session. And the nominees' resumes and bios will be shared via Núñez when they are ready. We will also hear the 2022 reports from the global level roles in the Secretariat and other reports and plans. So to all the members and the honorary members, you will be notified of new content on Núñez when it is ready and invited to add your comments and questions and contribute to the consensus-based decisions. Be sure to log in to Núñez in the days before the next GA session on May 31 to be able to express your views using the link in the chat. If the link doesn't work for you, you'll need to find the invitation in your inbox. Contact Sürya from the Secretariat if you have any questions. So we hope to see some of you tomorrow. And thank you to everybody for joining us in our General Assembly. Bye for now.